You know, got in here where it's a little bit thicker. That's where I'm gonna pick up the swim jig because I can get it through the hydrilla. Any kind of treble, you know, hook bait, I couldn't get it through there. So what I'm gonna do is switch to the swim jig, getting in here, and it's the only bait I can actually get to run clean through there. And those fish are hiding in those little pockets and lanes, and you know, all I can do is basically, this is the only bait I can get through there to get to them, but they're hiding in there. And it's just like the LV500, is that I want that bait to, you know, catch on that grass. And so I'm catching it and snapping it free, and what will happen is I'll snap it free and it'll jump into a little lane or a pocket of open water where that fish is hiding, and that's when he'll bite it. What I found here is, in sometimes certain parts of the day or certain areas of the lake, the fish are really shallow. When I say shallow, they're less than a foot, maybe a foot. I mean, when they'd bite it, I'd see a mud boil when they'd bite it. So the only bait that I could move through there and keep up and get those fish to bite was a swim jig. This right here is a Boss swim jig. I was throwing a 3/8 ounce. This I was throwing on a Daiwa Tatula frog rod. It's a 7.4 heavy action rod. I was throwing on the Daiwa Tatula reel, the 6.3 gear ratio reel. And then I ran 20-pound shooter fluorocarbon that Sunline makes. The reason for shooter is more abrasion resistant, and it has less stretch than the sniper. And so I want a little bit heavier line that could help me float that bait a little higher and land them, because I was throwing it way back in the nasty stuff, and I didn't want to throw a braid. I wanted a fluorocarbon because it just felt like if I used it out a little bit deeper water and I got around some grass, it just seemed like the better all-around line. So I threw it on 20-pound shooter and felt like I had, you know, more power than I did with a sniper. So that was a swim jig setup. You know, I got in the back of this little creek right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this is a Yamamoto D-shad, and what it is, I'm going to fish it like a Senko, but it falls a lot slower than a Senko. And the reason I'm going with this is it's really shallow back here. A Senko, believe it or not, in that shallow water, I think will fall a little too fast. So I'm putting on this D-shad. I have it on 16-pound sniper. And what I'm doing is just taking that D-shad, and these fish are pulling up and they're sunning and getting on the banks and they're starting to spawn. But I'm using this D-shad and casting it to them. And if I see one I cast to it, which I think that might be one right there, but I'm using it as just a, you know, a plastic worm that I can fish really, really slow. And cast in the little shade pockets, get up there right on the bank and just dead stick it. And what I'll do is I'll let it sit there for a couple seconds and just pull it, you know, move it, let it sit for a couple seconds, move it again, and I'll only do that a couple times, and then I can reel it in and make my next cast. There we go, little guy. All right, the Yamamoto D-shad. Just pitching it up on the bank and dead sticking it. It's hooked really well. The Gamakatsu hooks them. Little guy. I would throw this when they would miss the crankbait, when they'd miss the swim jig. A lot of times those fish were on beds. And I couldn't see them because the water was so stained. But what I'd do is I'd wind that crankbait and it would jump over a little limb, and I'd see the crankbait roll, or I'd be winding, I couldn't see anything, and one would fire at it and I'd miss them. I'd reel in really fast, I'd set that rod down, I'd grab the D-shad and I'd throw it right there. And the thing about this bait is that it falls slower than a Senko. And I think that was crucial in the shallower water, is a slower fall. If I was fishing out in deeper grass, I would throw a Senko because it falls a little bit faster. Now this right here falls a lot slower, and so I used that, and that definitely seemed to help. I caught several fish that missed the reaction bait, and I could follow it up with that. Now my setup for this is a 7.1 heavy action Steve's rod, a 7.9 gear ratio Steve's reel, and then I went with 20-pound Sunline FC sniper for this rig. So this right here, you can fish this thing all day long and never get fatigued. It's so lightweight. But for me, it was just a, just felt comfortable in hand, but it was really just a follow-up bait. And I had it on ready. I would just take that and reel that bait to the tip and have it ready. So as soon as one would miss it, I'd burn that bait in, set it down, fire it back out there, and I could usually catch that fish. Lucky Craft just came out with a brand new bait. And this thing right here is called the D10. It's a 10-foot running crankbait. This is an awesome crankbait for any kind of staging fish, especially in the spring when those fish are, first starting to pull up. It's a good one in the fall as well when they stage. In the fall they're going out, in the spring they're going in. But in the in the spring, this bait right here is a bait that you can tie on and fish little points, main lake points, secondary points, the drains going into a creek. Any kind of spot or brush piles too. If there's a brush pile on a point or you have brush piles out there in 10 feet, any place where those fish pull up and stage, the D10 is going to be a phenomenal crankbait for that. And this right here is it's an easy casting crankbait. It's a silent crankbait. It's going to be one you can fish on calm days. You can fish it on windy days as well, but this is one that even when it gets dead slick calm, you can throw this because it's silent and doesn't have a rattle to it. So it's something that those fish will bite even when it's calm. But the D10 staging areas, just think of staging areas. When those fish pull up on that, the D10 is the way to go. When the fish are anywhere from 10 or less, that's the crankbait to throw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it here on a little main lake point. And what it is, it has a good this point's running into a great spawning pocket. So what I'm going to do is see if some of these pre-spawn fish are sitting out on these points, just waiting to go into this spawning pocket behind me. And this D10 is a perfect scenario for fishing right now. The fish are shallower, they're not shallow, but they're up. We don't need a 20-foot diving crankbait. That 10-foot. There's fish. There we go. Maiden voyage D10, the second cast ever with a D10, and I just caught one. Look at that. It's a keeper spotted bass. Second cast that I've ever made with a D10, and I just caught that fish. Look at that. Now that's funny. Tell you what, I'm gonna like this crankbait. And the D10 has great action with it. I was actually able to try it. Look at, he ate it so good too. Those Gamakatsu hooks, get them. It's keeper spotted bass. Look at that. That's with a brand new D10. And what I have here is the chartreuse shad. And obviously it works. I mean, how cool is that? I just pulled up on the point leading into a bay, a typical staging area, and a fish bit it. I kind of think we could run around and catch a bunch of them right now. I might be able to catch another one right here. I'm gonna get my line untangled here. I can see if I can catch another one. But perfect staging spot, point leading into a bay, 10-foot running crankbait, which is kind of about where I would think those staging fish would be. They're gonna be not shallow, but not deep either. With this bait, I can just throw it out in that good, transitional areas and catch those fish.
Hey folks, Mike Iaconelli here. Tackle Warehouse vlog, Lake Chickamauga, last day of practice. If you can look at my deck and look at my boat, you'll notice stuff everywhere. Today's what I call cleanup day. We're gonna be fishing fast, fishing like maniacs. We're gonna be fishing from 30 feet to 3 feet of water, really trying to clean up, put together what I found the first 2 days of practice. So we're gonna fish like maniacs. Come on, let's go.
Nice one on that LV500. LV500, Sam Rayburn, that's a big one right there. Look at that. Oh, that's the trick right there. Throwing that LV500 out in deep hydrilla. Caught a nice one here at Lake Sam Rayburn. Again, man, that fish is hooked so well. EWG short shank, Gamakatsu hook. That's what those hooks are designed for.